Understanding Moral Relativism by Aaryan Harshith, June 5th, 2021. Wait, I know what you're thinking. Who are you, and why are you here sounding like one of those weird self-help gurus that tells people what they should be doing with their lives and all that? Well, this is me, Aaryan, and I won't get into a lot of detail, but I've had some experience being alive, and I wanted to share that to help anyone watching this video think in a more nuanced way. And of course, this is the debut of the series, so we'll start this off with a highly retweetable and frankly controversial point. Good and bad is an illusion. There's no such thing. Now, this isn't the entire story, so stay with me here and don't go calling me a potential arsonist. Take some time to think about it. It's an extremely valuable practice to imagine circumstances that could make an argument true, no matter how much you want to prove it's false. And as expected, that should be really, really hard. I designed that statement to get on your nerves, and the reason it got on your nerves is because morality has become an axiom. And by axiom, I mean it's become a sort of philosophical dead end. So think about this. Why shouldn't you steal? And you might reply, because it's illegal. And why is stealing illegal? Now, you might be confused at this point, and you'd probably say, well, because it's bad, or something along those lines. Do you see what's going on here? An axiom is basically an unwritten rule to ask why beyond a certain point. Sort of like if you were talking to a religious person, and you couldn't exactly get a satisfying answer to who created God. It's a line you aren't supposed to cross, and it's not that it's taboo, but it's more that we just don't know, and we don't exactly want to try figuring it out. Fortunately, though, we, or at least I, live in a free country where anyone can cross basically any line out there. So let's try doing that. What makes stealing bad? It's probably a question you never really wanted the answer for, but let's try answering it today. What makes anything bad? Or even deeper, what is bad? No, seriously, what is bad? We know bad's most commonly used as a way of describing a person, like Hitler, or a place, maybe like the one room in everyone's basement that they're too scared to go into, or an idea, like racism. But do you understand what that means? It would also mean that there's got to be some feature that Hitler, dark rooms and basements, and racism have in common, because they're all bad. Now, I'm starting to realize that this is sounding like the intro to a really, really offensive joke, so I'm going to stop now. But do you get what I'm trying to say here? Morality is a quality, not a trait. If someone has green eyes, that's a trait. But is someone bad? That's a quality. And the issue is, quality is 100% subjective. And with the power of A equals B and C equals B and therefore C equals A, morality is also subjective. That's the entire point behind moral relativism. Maybe stealing is bad because it harms the victim. Maybe it is bad because someone gets lots of cash without earning it in a 9-to-5 job. It could be bad for a whole lot of reasons. But regardless of what supposedly makes stealing bad, there's two sides to the story, and that two-sidedness isn't always something you'd expect of moral relativism, but it's so important to understand. As much as the person getting stolen from might think stealing's bad, the person who's stealing probably doesn't. They probably have a reason. So how do we choose who to favor here? Who's in the right? Because it's not entirely apparent if you were an alien who had no idea what morality was and you were looking at the situation from a third-person perspective. Not only is morality not a fixed trait, but it's not even an inherent one. And so here's the insight. Moral relativism is what reminds us that one man's trash is another man's treasure. And it's what asks us, who are we to say what's good or bad? Is something simply right because it's accepted by the majority of people, or maybe even the bulk of culture? And is that really the most useful way to approach things? But as you might have expected earlier, there's just one issue with moral relativism. It's useless. But that's for next episode. See you next time on the On My Own podcast, where you'll get closer to understanding why we don't use moral relativism right now. And if moral relativism isn't the answer, then what is? Stay curious, guys. Good night.